I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
What's he doing with his neck, Andrew?
I love cookies.
Oh, he's dancing to the beat.
Jam.
Welcome to Cookies, the basketball podcast. I am Ben Detrick. With me, as usual, Jordan Redaelli.
Mr. Jordan Redaelli. Or Redaelli, that's how I say it. Or Redaelli.
Jordan Redaelli is here, and Andrew Kuo.
Whoa!
It's a quote.
You can't
sounds
be
fun.
racist against Italians.
Because Italian is not a race, right?
Something like that.
But Italians can be racist against everyone else. As seen in the movie.
Are we canceled? Who just
Green
got
Book.
Is Italian food the most overrated restaurant food
No.
in all the genres?
No, American is.
Wow, that is an incredible take to start off the show. I was unprepared for
I'll
it.
preface that by saying Italian food is delicious, but it's easily made at home.
All right, let's see you do it to the highest possible degree.
Yeah, whip up some raviolis.
You're a food trader anyway, right?
Trader, as in like
Traitor.
Like a merchant.
As in the Don
traitor?
Cheadle movie.
Who did I trade on? I say yes, but give me some.
Like a
give me something.
betrayer?
Noodles.
Oh, I love noodles.
Or was it rice?
I don't love rice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be trusted. Wait, what's this? Let's just get down to this. What is your problem with Italian food? What's your grievance against the cuisine of the boot?
Yeah,
Well-
what you got against calzones?
It's a spicy meatball. When you sit down to an Italian dinner of like pasta with lemon and butter, it's like, and a glass of wine and an appetizer, it'll run you like $40 to $60 in New York City, right? That stuff is pretty easily procured at home. Like you can get a nice bottle of wine, boil up some like decent pasta, lemon, butter, cook up some broccoli rabe. That's like a $15 minus the wine meal.
Yeah, I was going to say, what kind of wine you drinking there? $2 Chuck?
Well, like wine markup is like the most insane markup of anything in a restaurant, right?
I think, in a restaurant.
I will agree with the premise that say breaded chicken may not cost $35.
Right.
That's true.
With a side of pasta.
Milanese.
Milanese.
Yes, this is true. You are talking about some fundamentals like tomatoes and flour.
Well, how much
and
does
water.
your horse pasta cost you to make?
Puttanesca.
Puttanesca.
The puttanesca? Yes.
That's the cheapest. Well, anchovies can be expensive.
I mean, that's really when you're just digging in the pantry. You know, you're scraping the shelves.
That's right.
Olives, capers,
Anchovies, tomato
sauce,
paste.
tomato paste. Yeah. Like $7.
Yeah. A lot of olive oil.
What is it about those ingredients that makes it a horse pasta or a puttanesca?
They're supposed to be fragrant, right? They put it on the windowsill.
I can't remember the mythology behind that.
They would cook it, and then the scent of the fish or the anchovies would waft through the town, and they would know they were open for business. That's the mythology. I did not make that up.
Oh yeah, I can't remember if it was that, or if it was just like hookers couldn't get to the market, so they had to use what was.
All those lazy prostitutes.
Oh, I've been out working the streets all night. Might as well just see what's in the cupboard, and looks like capers again.
Well, I'm surprised that there hasn't been a knock on the door from the whoop whoop yet.
Oh, we haven't done anything whoop whoopish.
Thank God, you've just been very insensitive against our paisanos.
Okay, so you can't cook pizza. So I understand paying a premium for that thing. But sometimes like I just really want pasta. So when you go out and get pasta and it just feels like a little too expensive. Like I can't make Chinese food because of BTUs and like I have an electric stove. It's like really hard to get there. American food, like I don't really want to cook a burger in my house. Like that's annoying. Pasta, no problem. We can watch TV, make delicious pasta like kind of on the side.
I would also say that the Italian restaurant, pretty good for ambiance.
That's the most fun. Italian restaurant is the most fun. Or French, right?
I think those ones are
More restaurant-y, 80s.
they have an
wise.
aesthetic.
Yes.
When you think about it, like
Or 90s wise. Speaking of 90s.
Rough.
Just shout out to Marcella Hazan though, because her cookbook is great. If you want to do what Kuo was saying, cook some Italian at home, that is your number one primer.
And also, cooking Italian is kind of the most fun at home, right?
Her cookbooks are great. She's the god of at-home Italian cooking.
Well, are her cookbooks from the 90s? Because if not, you just stepped the fuck all over his segue, Ben.
Yeah, it's from the 90s.
Good. You know what else used to be from the 90s?
All right.
All right, let's get into it. What?
Keith Flint from The Prodigy, R.I.P.
R.I.P..
And
Luke Perry,
Dylan.
Dylan Perry.
Dylan has perished.
Yeah.
Rough day for the 90s.
I mean, the 90s can't complain too much. They've had a pretty good run of late. Quo's been looking like Goldie out here in the streets.
Love the 90s. Been checking out a lot of old pictures of our heroes, our drum and bass, and what was Prodigy? Was that house, hard house, electro? Electro, right? Ooh, those break beats are tough to listen to now, but at the time,
Yeah, see,
not
that's how
that
you know
bad.
that you're old, is that the breakbeats that you liked when you were 12.
Sound so terrible.
Yeah, but guess what? It's all the 16, 17-year-old kids now love those breakbeats.
Do they?
I think there's more people under the age of 20 upset about Keith Flint than people over the age of 40.
Respect to 90210, I'm more upset about Prodigy passing
Why does this have to be a death competition to you?
because it's all about rankings, baby.
On the quote big board.
DBB?
You know, well, so who will you remember this is the day that Keith Flint died and not the day that Luke Perry died?
Yes.
And would you also think it was the day that Brad Renfro died instead of the day that Heath Ledger died?
See, the farther it gets from that day, I just forgot that they died on the same day. I didn't, before you texted that to us, I had forgotten completely it was the same day.
Farrah Fawcett and absolutely confirmed Kitty Fiddler Michael Jackson.
That was a really tough day for Farrah.
Yeah, she died.
Her death. And then being overshadowed. Like it was a real double whammy.
I thought Farrah
First the
Fawcett
death.
was like still alive. I always think she's still alive. I'm like, oh, she's dead, right?
I don't know if she is Goldie Hawn or which one is which is alive.
Farrah
Oh,
Fawcett's
that's a big difference.
Farrah Fawcett's the one from the poster.
Right, the most famous poster of all time, other than the Jordan one, the Michael Jordan one with the wingspan, right?
Yeah.
But Goldie Hawn is amazing. I only remember her because of, you know what? I just outed myself. I get her confused with Olivia Diabo from Vacation.
And
Oh, also the Wonder Years.
and doesn't Goldie Hawn bring us into a rest in peace Burt
Wait.
Reynolds as well?
Beverly Diabo. Because Olivia was from the Wonder Years. Who was the mom in Vacation?
Oh,
Beverly
D'Angelo.
Is that right? Oh, man, I got my celebrity shit twisted up.
It's hard. It's difficult to keep things straight on such a tumultuous day.
I mean, the 90s are on our mind.
Yeah. Guess,
And
who else died?
Burt Reynolds.
But that's more like 70s, right?
Yeah, I
80s.
know.
That's baby boomer stuff.
You know what else died today? Melo's chances of playing basketball again.
Hold
Rest-
on,
R.I.P..
hold on.
Ben's not ready for this
I'm not,
transition.
what's up with you today? He tries to go somewhere and you stomp on it. I try to go somewhere, you stomp on it. Do you have to be driving the bus every single time?
I felt like there's
Otto,
more.
is that where you...
I feel like there's more Luke Perry content that we need to get out there.
hit us with these things that have been on the tip of your tongue for the last 5 minutes.
Let's get some Riverdale content in here.
I've never seen Riverdale, but I remember when 90210 came out. I didn't really realize how much older they were than they were supposed to be.
Yeah, they're like your age when it came out.
Yeah, they were 30 years old playing 14-year-olds.
Remember that Simpsons, like, teen heartthrob Luke Perry, and he smiles and there's like 40 wrinkles on his forehead.
I knew that was like the case, but I don't think I ever like acknowledged it recently to be like, wait, they were like double the age of the characters they were playing.
This still happens on like Netflix shows where it's just like teen dramas. I'm like, you could be 37. I'm not sure, you know?
Or you could be Jennifer Lawrence and playing a 40-year-old when you're 19.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Why would someone cast a 29-year-old to play a teen? Like,
Because
what's
they're good at acting.
But like, why would you
Because we
set
also
up that
don't.
weird dynamic of like someone a grown adult. Like, why would you want that in your show?
Well,
It's not-
there was 90210 was actually one of the first like teen soap operas to deal with things such as like rape and pregnancy and suicide. So I would assume that they thought it would be advisable to have more mature people in those roles to handle the heaviness of the situation, Ben, since you asked.
Also, we didn't care that much. Like we all kind of acknowledged that, and it was a hit show.
No,
for
I didn't
years,
care at
you
all.
know?
That's kind of what
Yeah.
I was thinking about. Just how it seems strange. I mean, it's obviously a common thing in theater, people
Yeah.
playing different ages, but it never occurred to me that we were watching like 30-year-olds
Yeah.
on that show.
It's funny, like it's the hindsight outrage thing, being like, "How dare that?" We were actually cool with that. We're still cool with that.
But yeah, like that happened on Happy Days, Ben. So they were even older.
Remember when Luke Perry just carrying the gun?
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Like just like Luke Perry strapped up for like one season.
It is
Well,
very
he
sad.
he also drove a $300,000 vintage Porsche to school.
Yeah, but he was working at the Peach Pit.
He had like 6 kids. He already been into jail a couple times.
He's troubled.
Yeah, which is so odd because he respect to Luke Perry, but he had like a stroke that doesn't really happen to people his age, which is weird.
So you're saying there's a hint of irony. Is that what I'm
Do we
getting
know
out of
he's
this?
52?
I thought he was.
42,
I thought he
40,
was older than
52,
that.
50.
He was 52. I thought he was older than that.
That's really young for a stroke, man.
That is. Rest in peace, Luke Perry. That was all I wanted to talk about. The age thing was my
Well, I'm sure everyone was just chuffed that you did.
chuffed.
Chuffed, yeah. It's like what you Americans would call like stoked or something.
I think I got the context.
Cool.
You know, Jordan's been claiming a lot of phrases are Australian, and it's like, it's getting a little dubious.
Is chuffed British?
British.
Okay.
I didn't claim to be Australian. I said I wasn't American because you simply didn't know what I was talking about.
Oh, you're so cultured.
Yes, I'm drinking tea.
Could we talk about an Australian who has re-entered the NBA as of yesterday or today?
Is it official?
I think so.
I think so.
To who?
Golden State Warriors.
Oh, I'm not sure that that's official. That's rumored.
No,
right?
I think they announced it today, or it's going to happen.
Okay.
The Sixers are out, right?
I believe so. They're no shaming.
No king shaming.
Sixers are out on this big. Not by their choice, apparently. They were all in.
Right.
Thirsting for bigs.
They were rebuffed by another backup center.
So yeah, Andrew Bogut, the red-pilled Aussie Pizzagate believer, is back in the NBA. I kind of like Bogut as a player. He's a large thug.
He won Defensive Player of the Year and MVP in the league. We don't know how good that. How
Oh,
good is that
I
league?
know how good it is.
How good is
Not very.
Was
I
it-
mean, washed Andrew Bogut was just the best player in the league.
I know, right? But he's still kind of good.
He's fantastic.
And
He's 34, so he's not like decrepit in terms of NBA age, but he is old.
he aged very quickly. He depreciated really quickly.
You know what? I think
Amari Stoudemire, that dirty move.
what might have happened with Bogut is he just needed to go back home, catch some rays. Seriously, like maybe like go to the beach, hang out with his mom a bit, and then
Could we go to Australia? Could Cookies go to Australia and hang out in Perth or something?
I'm sure. Wait, in Perth? Why would you want to go to Perth?
Because
It's on the opposite end of anything good.
Where are the Magpies? Because I don't want to go there.
Everywhere. Especially near my mom's house. So let's go there. Oh. Yeah, Bogut just wanted to hang out with his
Jordan's
mom.
house. Magpie 2.
Yeah, I think he just needed to get back on the boogie board, and now he's good to go again. I was a little disappointed that he didn't go to the Bucks.
but the Bucks got your boy Powell, so that was kind of for some
I
reason.
know, but
winning
if he
teams
had to go
think they
back
have
to a
do
former
it.
team, couldn't it have been the Bucks?
That would have been cool. The Mavs.
And he could have had a chance to win 2 titles with 2 different teams.
He could have stuck it to the left-leaning Golden State Warriors.
How was his relationship with Boogie Cousins going to be?
I think Boogie is all signs point to Boogie. Like the vibe wise, the same thing is happening to Boogie that's happening to Steven Adams. And one's like, "Oh, they're such bad in locker room people. They're enforcers." Like, actually, they're awesome dudes, and they're really cool. They just get really emotional.
I can't recall any situation where a teammate of Boogie's complained about him.
No. And they're vocal about supporting him. They're like, he's the best. He just gets angry and yells at refs.
I'm just wondering, does Bogut's very questionable, intolerable politics get him in trouble? And he was already there. They know who he is.
They know who he is, and they welcome him back. And is he just a zigger instead of a zagger? I know that was dangerous. But like, is he just trying to do the Kyrie Irving thing, where it's just like, this is the opposite of what you think I'd say, so the media is gullible.
Well, let's
anyway.
check in with our Aussie contrarian,
Oh, you mean me?
Kuo.
What's the question?
Is Andrew Kuo? No, is Andrew Bogut? Is he just trying to cause like mild controversy, or is he
Is this mischief?
Is he a real like pizza gator?
I don't think he's a real pizza gator. He's what is affectionately known as a dumb fuck.
Oh, is that Australian for being a fucking dumb?
Yeah.
Did you guys watch a Flat Earth documentary on Netflix?
No, I was
hoping someone would have seen it.
I was just about to. Let's do it. I'll watch it before the next show. We can
Same.
talk about
Next
it.
time, Flat Earth commentary.
No, I
can't wait.
I was stuck on the horrifying Michael Jackson documentary.
Oh,
I have not watched that yet.
I have not watched that yet either.
Yeah. Unless you like explicit details of 7-year-olds giving and getting blowjobs, you might want to skip that.
That was kind of my immediate response to hearing about the show. Is like, I already believe he did this stuff, so do I have to now hear more about it and be devastated and horrified when I already think he's like a criminal and a pedophile to begin with? Like, do I need to be won over by these harsh, brutal details?
I don't think you need to be won over, but it is the most interesting thing from a documentary standpoint about it is like the ways in which he was able to bewitch and then befuddle the families, and where it seemed so fucking obvious, like he's having sex with my child, but his manipulations of the children and the families were like insane, and I'm sure it's probably very typical of a lot of sexual predators. So it's interesting in that point of view.
That same dynamic is very much present in that other Netflix doc, Abducted in
Plain sight.
It's exactly the same situation where you're watching and you're like, are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Your child just left with this grown man for months and came back, and you're like letting him around. You're like, he's in her bed, like, because he claims that he needed that therapy and was recommended by a doctor. It's just, it's so obvious, but it was also, he seduced, like, the parents. It's like, anyway, I don't want to reveal the story because that doc is a unbelievable story, if not a great documentary. But anyway, same thing. Parents being captivated by charm, personality, celebrity, money, fame, etc.
Are parents being LeBron out there?
Well, it's like there's a limit to Schadenfreude, right? Like at some point, I'm like, my interest just ends. I'm just like, I take no joy in this information. This is not informative at some point. And a zillion people watched it and was lighting up the Twitter timelines. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't have the stomach for this a little bit.
So what's the fallout from this, just if we're going to predict it? Not necessarily like the grim details of it, but like, is Michael Jackson's music going to stop getting played by DJs? Is it going to be pulled off of streaming services? Like, what's the
BBC
what's the
Two has
result?
already removed his music from their playlists. Honestly, I can't see Spotify or anyone removing it, or Apple Music. That just makes way too much money. That music gets streamed like crazy.
And licensed.
But
I
will
mean,
it-
licensed, I think, might be a bit different story.
But will it get streamed significantly less? And therefore, the economic impetus to keep it up there will be lessened, and then they can kind of do the public-facing right thing in a way that's not going to like cripple them economically and be like, yeah, we're not going to carry his catalog anymore.
Well, I mean, honestly, at this point, though, it's still just two accusers telling evidenceless stories about a dead person who they had already previously under oath said that didn't do anything. So I think there's enough enough. What's it called? Enough like reasonable doubt for these record companies to not pull anything.
And a lot of people brought up the Sam Cooke documentary on Netflix that came out like 2 weeks ago about how he died and in relation to this. And it was like a minority of people talking about it online, but I thought that was I did not know Sam Cooke's life story at all. And it has nothing to do with the Michael Jackson stuff, but he was removed from the scene in ways that are a little horrifying and sad. I mean, he was murdered, you know? But I didn't know the whole story behind him, and to see that happen, I'm like, how could that have happened on people's watch? And it just did.
Well,
Lots of death here on Cookies.
yeah,
today.
let's
Should
go-
we talk about the death of the Lakers?
I was about to say, on an equally somber note, let's talk about the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
So we haven't mentioned them in a couple weeks. They've been a big media story, though. And the real issue is this. LeBron James, the greatest player who's ever lived, is on the verge of missing the playoffs for the first time in 20 fucking years. Whatever it is. The Lakers are in serious jeopardy of not making the postseason, which is that a surprise to us necessarily? It's a surprise or like a calamitous event to the public at large, and it's the lead story on ESPN. The Lakers are going to miss the playoffs. Are we surprised?
My least favorite take is the I'm right take, but we kind of like hedged this whole thing in the beginning of the season. And we were like, we don't know what this is. This might be like a second, third, or fourth seed, or this might be like an 8th, 9th, or 10th finish. And it ends up probably being closer to 8th, 9th, or 10th, but we don't. I'm surprised that they have looked this bad because I believe with LeBron, not with his injury, they're like 24 and 21, I think. Not that good. These are good enough players to get into the playoffs, but they lost 3 or 4 games against bad teams like the Knicks and the Suns that like ultimately hurt them and took them out of the playoffs. And that little bit of like wiggle room changes the whole narrative into like, is LeBron not as good as Tim Duncan now, who is the number 1 player of all time?
Jordan,
Yes, Ben.
are you surprised by the Lakers' struggles?
No, not at all. I didn't think that they were good enough to make the playoffs, even with LeBron. And I'm not sure why everyone's like
Wait, can you go? Why not?
too young, and they didn't add enough good pieces.
That's
Like
fair.
Rajon Rondo and JaVale McGee just don't move the
That
needle
week
whatsoever.
was disastrous. Like we were curious, like one after one. Beasley, Rondo, McGee. Who am I forgetting? Lance Stevenson. We were like, what is happening? Like you cleared cap space for these guys?
I mean, I think that was it. It was like, well, let's see what it's going to be once they finish building that team. They finished it with a massive fucking whimper. I mean, I like Rondo. I think he was a good addition, but the others just.
They wanted 1-year players, right? Because they wanted to open up the books this summer. So they thought these players were good enough, had enough left in the tank to help LeBron in the playoffs, like maybe get to like the second round.
But I don't think. I mean, LeBron, I think, secretly hoped that they would make the playoffs, but I think he knew that there was a good chance that they weren't going to make the playoffs in the
100%.
West. And I feel like everybody kind of had that allowance for them.
I mean, LeBron probably assumed they would make the playoffs because for a couple of reasons, right? Because he's LeBron James and he always goes to the playoffs. So if you said to him, are you going to make the playoffs this year? He'd be like, hell yeah, I'm going to make the playoffs. I'm LeBron James. Whoever you put around me will be cool. And that was probably true. But he missed a bunch of games. And the margin was fairly slim because we could be talking about them as a lock for the 7th seed, whatever, if he was healthy, and say the Clippers didn't play as well or the Kings didn't play as well. But there was also teams like the Pelicans in Minnesota, which I guess disappointed the expectations. So, but there was always going to be that sort of shifting terrain at the bottom of the West because that was kind of where they were going to fall in that like 6, 7, 8 range. So if they were there and LeBron was healthy and like they're going to make the playoffs, no one would really be saying this is a disappointing season. We're only kind of talking about a few games difference, like 4, and LeBron's injury. So like they kind of did exactly what everyone thought.
It was a coin flip season, and the coin flipped not in their favor.
Exactly. I don't look at it as like, wow, that didn't work out. It's like, this was kind of, it did work out. He just got hurt.
Yeah.
Well, they also missed Rondo for a bunch of games and Lonzo Ball, who huge loss.
Lonzo's missed, I want to say, like half the season.
Yeah.
And they look terrible without him. They need him on the court. He does things that facilitates everything they do. And Ingram took a long time to start scoring, and he's been scoring, but it's not producing wins, right? Because they're not like valuable shots or valuable points that he's scoring, which is like threes or getting people in foul trouble or free throws.
Even when he's playing good
He's not.
or playing well, he strikes me as a bad player.
Yes, he's one of those guys. But it's nice to see him kind of like flex a little bit because we've been waiting for this. And the Lakers are fun villains to have, and Duke is a one-and-done bust factory. But we're rooting for Ingram to be kind of like a fun player, right?
Root for everyone to become a fun player. I will say the Lakers, without LeBron and Lonzo, without them, like as the rest of the team, not fun. But when you put LeBron and Lonzo on that team, they become fun. So that is the bummer about the Lakers season is that they were both sort of waylaid by injuries, but also they have not been an entertaining team when they're missing those two guys who are both kind of genius level passers. And watching Ingram taking contested turnaround 14-footers.
ISO. And like, it's such a shame that we're not going to get LeBron in the playoffs this year because we don't have that many years of peak LeBron left. And I think he's still in his peak. And not having him for this year is a tragedy. Like, we want the best player of all time in the playoffs every year, especially now because he probably has like 4 years left. And if you take one of those away, it's like, shame on us a little bit. Like, I mean, he got beat. Magic did not construct a team around him. But him versus the Warriors in the first round would be amazing.
LeBron probably also thought that they would acquire a star along the way, whether it would be someone joining him in free agency like a Paul George, or they would be able to acquire Anthony Davis. Or
they mistimed that jump like crazy.
And it could have gone a different way. Maybe,
it should have been Paul George
or Kawhi. I mean, there were certain options where it looked like they were in play for various star complementary players, and they never got them. Here's the question: has Magic done a terrible job, or has he done an all right job? Where do we stand on the Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, GM, head of basketball operations duo here?
I would like to say that he's just done a job.
A job done.
Exactly.
I did that.
No, but that's kind of how I feel.
My job here is done.
He has done a job. Well done.
Yeah.
Not a job well done, but well done. You did your job. He got LeBron, so
I agree.
there you go.
On his watch, LeBron went to LA.
You got LeBron, and then you lost everybody else.
It's like
And by that I mean like everyone on that team. Everyone there's a real big issue I think with feeling dispensable. Dispensable?
disposable.
Fuck, dispensable. Like,
What's up with that Zubac trade? I can't figure that out.
oh, hideous.
That didn't make sense.
It did not, and like no one's come out and been like, "Well, he clashed with someone in the locker room," or we didn't. They said it was for cap space, but he only takes like less than $2 million on the cap to
And
get.
also, he's probably better than. I mean, what is a Muscala anyway?
No, yeah, and
Well, and also, it wasn't like he hadn't been playing really well for the 3 weeks leading up to that trade.
he looked awesome.
He looked awesome.
And you could have just bought out Beasley. Like, you didn't have to sweeten the Beasley trade with Zubac. You just bought him out.
But the funny part about Zubac was like he was supposed to be this key component in all their trade packages.
But we can never
and-
listen to that
Of
stuff.
course not. But I just mean it was like, actually, we don't like him anyway. It was like, I didn't understand that. I also think, though,
I don't know why Magic does that. He kicks dudes out the door. I don't know why.
if you look back at them, a huge mistake they made was the D'Angelo Russell deal.
Yes, but also we have to remember, and
And well, the mistake is Mozgov, right?
the mistake was Mozgov, but they got Kuzma back with that pick. So it wasn't nothing. But that was a huge error because they didn't have to do that. They could have had D'Angelo Russell.
I mean, Mozgov's contract is awful. But, I mean, it was. I understand
A lot of
that
big teams
you had
make
to give
that.
up
Yeah.
something of real value
Yeah.
to ditch that contract. But it goes to what you were saying with Magic saying we needed a leader. Like, why even
Don't
open
say
your
that.
fucking mouth?
Yeah.
Just let the guy go.
Just be like, we wish him luck, man. We really wish him luck. He's part of our family.
Like, he's better than any guard on your team now. He's still
Easily.
young. He made the All-Star team.
He's going to get a nice contract this summer.
He'll probably get a near max.
Close max. Yeah. It's
I
going to
mean-
cost some money.
And Magic, you're on the record like trashing this guy who your team drafted. Like, why?
It's odd, man. And the way he allegedly dangled all the young players for Anthony Davis. We're finding out now more details. Like, there might not have been an offer, but so when we thought they had the, what do they call it? Like the big
The Godfather deal.
the Godfather deal. That might not have happened, but the Pelicans won't say what they were offered.
I wonder what the Lakers locker room is like, because as outsiders who are not in that room, we think about what Jordan mentioned. Like, I would feel disposable. I would feel hurt that LeBron and management was trying to deal me. But do players also get that? I wonder how much that stings and how much that affects people on the floor.
I mean, the disgruntled star, everyone says, is the disgruntled aging star is the hardest thing to build around and create around. But LeBron was so good as last year. He was this good to kind of make all these things kind of shed away. The East is easier, but Boston still was a good team in the East. But it seems like he's depreciated just enough where his surliness has caught up with him.
I think that he was on these other teams that he dragged through the playoffs. They were a lot older, those players. Like Kyrie Irving was the youngest one, and he had been playing in the NBA for like 6 years. There's something about
There's a generational shift.
the
with the
generational
Lakers.
shift. Like these dudes, like 22, and it kind of feels
Millennial.
like LeBron is like literally sunning them, and it's kind of like
Gen Z.
it's a little bit like, are they looking at him being like, yeah, we know LeBron's like the greatest of all time, but if he like bitches them out, are they like turn around like, whatever, dad? Like,
And listen to us talk about LeBron like MJ, because he's not like MJ. He's like open with the media. He has interests outside of sports. He kind of was the foil to that sociopathic like Kobe, MJ, 90s mold. But now he's growing back into that.
well, he's growing into it because he, I think, made the conscious decision to start becoming that, and there's a full cop press over the last 2 seasons of him letting everyone know that he's the GOAT, that he's up there. You know what I mean? So when somebody starts talking all that, what, Ben?
No, I'm listening to you.
No, go ahead.
I'm wondering if we're falling into the trap of moralizing winning. Because LeBron, he may not have changed. I don't know. I'm just saying he may not have changed at all. He may have been exactly the same kind of guy, domineering over his teammates, et cetera, et cetera. But when they're winning, everyone's like, leader, he's awesome, he's great. And then as soon as they lose, we're like, he's changed. He's grumpy now. He's this. Like, he might have been the same guy, but we're ascribing the outcome to the process.
That has value too, and there's obviously truth in that. But the only reason we're going down this path is because, like, everything just lines up. Like, he's doing Space Jam 2 in LA, and it's just like, oh yeah, Jordan did Space Jam 1. Like, he's not playing defense, which is fine because we're just isolating certain plays and like rocking him for it. But like, that's funny.
Some of the clips are so amazing.
So funny.
Did you saw the one where I think it was an inbound play and Tyson was kind of in front of him and he throws the ball and it bounces off the bottom of the backboard, not a bounce. He just kind of like looks at it and like stalks off.
Yeah.
And there was a few of them like not closing out on threes, and it's like those kind of, whether it's emblematic of his entire performance over a game, it's becoming the same way that when James Harden would get beat,
Yeah.
it would just become like something we all watched, and it became like James Harden's the worst defender in the world.
Right.
And now we're seeing LeBron James doesn't care, isn't trying. And which leads me to think that once the Lakers get really eliminated, the LeBron shutdown is going to be like magnificent
gonna
at
be
the end of the
amazing.
season. Just him like personally shutting it down.
And the framing you're talking about is hilarious when you think of like not yet retired Dirk Nowitzki. It's like when all these superstars get older, they kind of all like elasticize back into this middle of just like, I don't got nothing to prove. I'm taking a play off. Like it's the forest, not the trees. We never dogged Dirk for that because he just seemed like a likable guy.
Right. Like, will LeBron.
He slayed the giant one year.
Will LeBron like drink wine on the court? I feel like that's like the real litmus test.
Are they still drinking wine? Wine is not. You guys like wine?
Yeah, we liked a shit ton of wine last night.
Yeah.
I like wine. Yeah, we like wine.
Ah, man, I just never grew into
Ben's
it.
lips are still stained.
I was getting some recommendations from the Somm, that's what we say in the industry, about the kind of wines that I like, because I feel like I never know what I'm doing when I go into a wine store. I always just ask for recommendations, and she was very kind and said, okay, here's the region you like. You should look for these various styles and these adjectives when you're speaking with someone knowledgeable. And it was a very helpful thing, and I look forward to drinking lots of wine.
And especially for a man with his own wine fridge
With no wine in it right
with
now.
no wine in it right now.
That's the impetus for learning about wine. I need to stock the wine fridge.
The problem I have with wine is like it quickly turns into like a market discussion because of the price of like good versus bad wines. So I start thinking about like value. So I'm like, oh, this is a $20 glass. Does it taste different than a $12 glass? And they're in such limited quantities where I'll go back to the same bar like a few months later and be like, can I get that $14 glass wine that I thought was better than the $30 glass? And they're like, oh, that's gone forever. So it's like really hard for me to get into it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the taking photos of wine bottles is probably like a wise move to do.
But then they go away, like they're in limited capacity. And then the prices go up, but at that point they cease to become values just because they're scarce.
Is there a big board,
About this idea,
a wine big board?
I don't know anything about wine. This is what I'm saying. Like, it's hard for me to get. I would like someone to. I guess Shea Matan would be the place.
You know, talk to the manager there.
Because having a whole bottle of wine is hard because you open it, you taste it, and then it just sits there, and I can't drink a whole bottle every time, you know?
So the problem is just with you being soft and not being able to take a whole bottle to the face, right?
I can't drink a whole bottle of wine myself.
Well, you're married. You could perhaps share your bottle.
He won't do that.
He won't do that. He's like, mine.
What if someone else doesn't want to drink?
Okay, quick aside. Is April ever given the remote control?
Most nights.
Most nights.
Yeah. I have a little, like, iPad that I keep in the corner and I watch the games. And then she... Guys, wait till you get married. Just wait.
The sin bin.
What's April watching right now?
The Voice.
The Voice.
But yeah, I mean, The Voice is a big deal in the house, and I've grown to love it. It's an awesome show.
I like her taste in TV. We have similar tastes. Maybe I should come over and watch TV with her.
Anytime, Jordan.
And Kuo on the iPad.
Yeah, what are you doing in the corner? Nothing.
It's going to be weird when we look back at the current version of the NBA and we're like, wait, everyone started wearing really elaborate suits and drinking wine, and it was like the full dandyification of the NBA. in
Which
this
seems to be
era
slipping away a little bit with
think
these
it
guys,
is.
right? With the Banana Boat guys.
Well, I think it was very much, as you said, sort of the millennial, but the older millennials.
Yes.
Like the ones that were most
Like us.
kind of Gen
Well,
X-y.
we're Gen X. My bad.
But the LeBron ones and the Dwayne Wade, they were like the ones who
Absolutely.
got into suits and tailoring and fedoras, and the new guys are kind of like athleisure.
Yeah. The last rumblings of that was like Jimmy Butler was drinking wine during the day. That was caught on tape, which was funny. Draymond Green was on LeBron's show drinking wine. And I just kept on thinking, being like, wine ain't that fun. But it's like a signifier, right? I went to a country show a few days ago, like a legit country show. And he had like a solo cup. So I asked my buddy, is that a signifier for something? Sort of like the styrofoam cup in the South and rapping. all that. And he's like, it could be. Because he was flaunting his solo cup, and there's a song about solo cups and whatever.
The double stacked styrofoam.
And the double solo. Wine
Yeah, I don't
in
know.
the
I don't know
NBA,
what the there was that really long article. I forget
Yeah, it
who
was
wrote
cool.
it about
Yeah.
wine in the NBA, and there are sort of quasi secret wine societies of Jimmy Butler apparently brings like wine, has a like wine case that he brings with him on road trips where he keeps
interesting.
bottles of wine with him.
I mean, that makes sense. Why not?
Why not indeed?
Wine not.
Why not?
Speaking of whining,
Go on. I like where this is headed.
can the Celtics handle a rebuild with dignity?
I feel like some of these guys,
Dignified rebuild.
Yeah, like the Knicks. Shout out to the Knicks this year. Loving them. Back to the Celtics.
so the Boston Celtics, we've been like mourning the fall of the Celtics
Yeah.
last rebuild all season.
Yeah.
And now it's here. We can acknowledge the Celtics are rebuilding, and
Pre-build.
I guess that's what we could call
Oh,
this.
God. Al Snorford's coming to the Knicks, isn't he?
It's a
in free
possibility.
agency.
It's a possibility.
Fuck, I just realized that's what's happening.
Morris will be heading to the Knicks.
The Celtics are now obsessed with ping pong balls. They are trying to get down into the bowels of that lottery. So the weird thing about the Celtics is, by metrics, they're really good. They're like a top 3 team in terms of offensive rating, defensive rating, expected wins, but they keep losing games. And it's tough to watch. It's really hard to see. It's a real bad situation there in Beantown.
Gordon Hayward looks awful. What is up with him? That injury looked terrible in the moment. And they said, whatever doctors were just like, he's going to make a full recovery. So by the beginning of next season, he should be on his way to looking like his old self. He has not looked anywhere close to Utah, Gordon Hayward.
I believe he's suffering the side effect known as shook.
The yips? He's just shook? What's shaking him?
I don't know, probably snapping your leg clean in half.
Oh, you think he's like, it's in his mind,
Yes,
in the
I
back
do.
of his mind.
We've gotten used to guys like Paul George coming back and making a full recovery and acting as if that's normal. I mean,
Insane. It's insane.
look at Derrick Rose.
Awesome.
He was destroyed by those injuries for ages, and
Now
now
he's
he's
back,
back and looking like a NBA player again.
Even like Antonio McDyess kind of came back and was a good player on the Spurs.
But like Rudy Gay came back, but he's not the same guy.
Not the same.
Like we've just looked at the shining examples, and we kind of
The outliers.
the survivors. What's that? Whatever that logical fallacy is, where you look at the success and say, "Oh, that's how it works." It's like that's not the case.
Well, it's interesting with someone like Boogie in Golden State. The first few weeks we're just like, oh my God, he's back. And then now we're like, oh, he's not really back. He looks totally different. He could be a liability. That's why we got to get the Aussie from down under, the red pill Aussie. But Gordon Hayward, I think, do you guys expect him to look better like with time?
I guess that would be the only. I think that we would say maybe he's just still recovering in terms of strength, or maybe it's a mental thing, as Jordan said. But just looking at his recent game log here, I mean,
It's like 4 points, 3 points, right?
he was 3 of 7 for 6, 0 of 2 for 3, 1 of 3 for 3, 2 of 8 for 9. I mean, that is a brutal line, and he's
not that
playing,
player.
He's
He's-
averaging 24 minutes in those games.
He's not that player. Like, something's wrong. And if it's physical, they have to shut him down. If it's mental, they might have to shut him down too. I don't know on-off splits, but
Over the last 5 games, he's averaging 23 minutes a game, 5 points on 31% shooting and 12% from 3. That is a terrible player.
also that team is like dour. They're just like not running. They're just not running crisp plays and routes. And like when you watch them play, they're upset. Like it's a team that's not executing. Like when I say not running crisp routes, it's like no one's like running to their spots a second early. They're dragging a little bit. It might as well drag now before the playoffs.
Right. So what is it? What's the problem? Does it tie
Brad
back?
Stevens.
Woo.
College
Is it?
coach Brad Stevens
Another.
wasn't cut out for the bigs.
And send him back down.
Is it? I mean, we talked about this last week. I don't think a 26-year-old perennial all-star is ever your problem, but he could affect things in a moment where people are mad at him on the court and he's taking a shot and they're just like, whatever, and they give up a game.
There was an article in The Ringer that came out earlier today by Kevin O'Connor where he kind of tried to get under the hood and discern what was the problem with the Celtics. And he made some of the points we're saying, that on paper they're pretty good, and we know Kyrie is a good player, but that there does seem to be a general sourness around the team. But that's another one of those chicken and the egg situations. When you're losing games, people tend not to be jovial. Mm-hmm. And then we're like, well, no one's liking it. They don't like each other. They're not having fun. They're not joking in the locker room
But this
the way
seems
they should
real.
be. But that's what I'm saying. I can't tell. Is it that Kyrie doesn't get along with the other guys on the team? Do they think he's leaving? Do they think, are they in the similar situation with LeBron and Anthony Davis and the Lakers? Are all those guys sitting there saying, we're going to be traded for Anthony Davis? We're being viewed as assets in the same way that the Lakers are, despite the fact that it didn't get that kind of attention.
And this is not to be confused with the cookies ethos that there is nothing, there's no proof that there's a losing and winning culture. But these guys aren't getting along right now. Like, they're just telling you straight up. And, like, I think they caught Kyrie a few days ago walking through the tunnel being like, I'll be ready when I'm done with this shit. He said something like, I'm so ready to be done with this. And he's, like, leaving so much bait out there where I feel like beyond the whole rebuild thing, in the moment, like, if someone doesn't want to be with you and is stuck with you on a plane, in a hotel, in a locker room, you're just like, all right, man. Let's just move on. Let's just get through this.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all just a bunch of fucking sad boys. Like,
Sad boys.
they're all, Kyrie's like such a sad boy. And I think he is throwing crumbs out there, kind of letting everyone know that he is going to leave and maybe softening the blow, or, you know, it's like he's acting out so they'll break up with him first, or at least the fans will, because he made this grand proclamation of love over the microphone. Now he just doesn't want to hang anymore. Doesn't want to take you to the movies.
I think there's some truth to that, because everyone's been pretty positive from the Boston side and fans towards Kyrie. I don't think there's been this, Kyrie's the problem. No one really says that. Everyone knows he's good and he's played well. If there's any negativity, it's towards probably his lack of visible commitment to staying there. From the locker room perspective, you have to wonder if someone like Rozier does kind of resent Kyrie, though, where he's like, look, you're going to leave. I haven't gotten paid yet. Suddenly I'm not playing. I mean, he's not that good. He shouldn't really be playing.
No.
But you got to wonder if those kind of relationships with him, or Jaylen Brown's like, look, Hayward is coach's guy. I get it. Like, he coached him in college. That's his boy. He's coming back. He's a former star, but like, he can't ball. And I'm being on the bench and this guy's playing. Or I wonder if those
I
kind
think
of
absolutely
things are issues.
everybody in Boston is unhappy with what's going on. I think Gordon Hayward's probably unhappy. He might be shook and thinking like, why am I getting these minutes? I suck. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no one's happy there.
Like, timelines kind of create emotions, right? Like, the fact that all these guys are expiring and have decisions to make and haven't made them affects like some sort of stability in any organization. And I think they just ran up against a really odd timeline. If Tatum was better, if Jaylen Brown was better, I think the whole dynamic would have changed, where it's like, oh, we're good moving forward. They're not sure if they're good moving
If
forward.
Hayward hadn't gotten hurt, this looks so different. Because we know they're a good team. They are capable of going to the finals. If Hayward was healthy, they'd be an exceptionally good team.
If Tatum was like he was last year, they would be instantly 3 or 4 wins better.
But they're two different teams you're talking about, because
Absolutely.
one of those teams has two different starters, the two best players on the team. And so it's another thing for thinking about like Hayward coming back. It's like, this team was better without me. And now here I am chewing up time
I mean, that's
chewing
so
up
tough.
minutes, throwing up bricks.
But he's a good player. You
But,
know, it's
but,
like
but,
it's
but that's the other
No,
thing.
he
bad
was
now.
a good player. You can't say he is a good player because he's shown
He's bad.
zero proof.
He's a bad player right
he's
now.
bad now. But like, so what do you do? Like, that's what I mean. Timing.
Well,
Like,
you've got some sweeteners.
I mean, you should maybe think about. I wonder if they can get some draft picks. Like, would the Boston ownership, let alone the fan base, welcome like another mini rebuild, which is already going to happen? You know, like, would you bail on Hayward?
Yeah.
Well, you can't do anything about Hayward, though.
Exactly.
How would you
if you-
bail
you
on
just-
him?
Wait
could,
him
you
out.
would.
Would you sweeten him with like Jaylen Brown?
In a heartbeat?
We would, but like, would ownership accept that moving forward?
I have no idea because
Well, that's something that has to happen. If Kyrie bounces and Al Horford bounces, then you're already looking at a rebuild with
Or would
nothing
they
in
try
back.
to plug the gaps with like Kemba Walker or Chris Middleton?
the real problem they have is Hayward. It's a huge issue. A third of your
$31
salary
million
cap
a year.
is dedicated to a guy who's bad. And then if Kyrie leaves and you're like, okay, Horford, do you want to come back?
It's
But
not
we've
the-
got a bunch of young guys, so Horford doesn't work, and we're not going to pay you $30 million. So
It's not the only thing though, because he takes up a huge part of their cap, but he's a sunk cost. And like Jordan said, last year without him, they still look better than they did this year. The issue is all these little things. Like Tatum didn't get better. Jaylen Brown is kind of the same guy. Marcus Smart got a lot better. Rozier, as you said, not a good player. You know, so it's like, or he's an okay player. Kyrie, amazing. You know, it's like all these little things.
what's interesting is how much of this goes back to like a couple shots because
Coin flips.
in their first round series against the Bucks last year, they were really close games. It was a great series, and a lot of it came down to Rozier playing super well, and he like kind of destroyed Bledsoe, and people were like making fun of Bledsoe, who is a really good player.
Really quick, how the fuck did Milwaukee re-up him 4 more years for only $70 million?
Bargain.
That
Great.
is crazy. I read that and I actually felt a little bit bad for Eric. I was like, really, that's all you got out of it? But whatever.
So they gave he did an interview after he went off that night, and he was just like, "Let's be honest, man. This is good. This is a good situation, and I'm happy." And I'm like, "That's all. It's cool."
I might have 2 championships by the end of this $70 million contract.
The Sixers had traded for him with what? What was the asset that was exchanged? A protected first rounder.
Yeah.
If the Sixers had traded for Bledsoe, they'd be going to the finals for the second time in a row. Bledsoe is really good.
He's really, really good.
He's better than Middleton. Middleton's a good player, but Bledsoe
love
is
Middleton.
Bledsoe is the second best player on that team.
I disagree. I think it's Middleton just because that prototype is more increasingly valuable, and Bledsoe has the numbers over Middleton, but Middleton does more on the court.
I disagree. I think having a point of attack defender like Bledsoe is so rare in the NBA.
I like a flexible wing who defend positions and score.
Typical shit. But what I was saying about the Bucks and the Celtics was just that if the Celtics lose that series, they never beat Philly, and they're not viewed as being a disappointment this year. They're just kind of doing what they did already. And this year could happen the same. If I'm the Sixers, I don't want to see Boston in the first round. I think they'll probably lose to them.
That's gonna be a great series, right?
Yeah, and that is a really pivotal potential series for 2 franchises.
Yeah.
Because if Philly loses that, Brett Brown might get fired. There's going to be calls for like trade Simmons. Maybe Jimmy Butler leaves. There's like a lot of fallout if Philly loses. And if Boston loses, you can almost guarantee that Kyrie's out if they lose in the
Horford
first
opts
round.
out.
Horford opts out.
Maybe this is a mini shadow playoff tank where they're just losing these games to ensure that they do see Philly in the first round. Ainge,
He's done
smarter
it
than
again.
everyone else.
Well, I like how everyone's like Jordan's never lost a finals, but he's like missed a whole bunch of finals and lost before he's gotten there. But we never think about that.
Well, because he's an enormous quitter.
Yeah, because he literally quit on his team to play baseball.
LeBron quit like late in one game.
Yeah.
Jordan quit for seasons.
But like, right, so if Boston loses like a tough battle in round 1 versus the Sixers, it has a different taste than if Boston just like something goes wrong and they don't make the right matchup. And
What
they
would
go
it
out.
taste like if it was an Italian dish?
I thought you were going for like a Kobe Shaq rap. So what does that taste like? I'm like,
Trey
"Oh."
Young lolly.
Yeah, what Italian dish would the?
Real spicy meatball.
It would be like a disappointing chicken parm.
Exactly what I was looking for. I think.
Like too much mozzarella cheese on the pasta, not enough sauce.
Or like gnocchi that's all stuck together.
Gnocchi is like when it's good, it's amazing. Every time else, it's just no.
Have you ever
it's no-
tried to make that one at home? That's a difficult one. If you are looking for Italian food that you don't want to be able to make in the comfort of your own kitchen,
from scratch? You mean?
yeah,
I don't know how to do that.
I've tried it. Was not that successful.
You're just looking for something that's not like dense, right?
Yeah, you want it fluffy, airy. You're
'Cause
like
the
using a
flavor
ricer
is the flavor,
on
right?
potatoes and then molding them. You use a fork to put the little marks.
What is your favorite pasta?
Linguine vongole.
Explain.
Pasta with linguine with clam sauce. It's like but I think like clams are the most delicious things on earth. I think they're tasty.
Clam guy over here.
Oh, this fucking clam guy
I
brought
like
in.
baked. Remember on Christmas we had baked clams?
Yeah.
That was fun. It's pretty cool.
How about you? Favorite Italian dish to wrap this fucker up?
Oh, other than you. Oh. I mean, I feel like just like a bolognese sauce there. Like you get like the ragu that's been simmering there for 5 hours, 6 hours.
This is my question with bolognese sauce because there's two kinds, right? There's the one that you simmer with red wine forever and like it kind of ends up tasting like one note that people look for. It's hard to get there. Or like the quick, like you just saute up the meat, the tomatoes are still sharp, and then you put it on pasta.
Pathetic.
You think so?
Oh, just disgraceful.
I don't like how flat the flavors get when you simmer it over 3 hours.
To me, if you're gonna do like the real deal, it's got to be the meat goes first, and then it cooks, and then you add like the bottle of wine, and it cooks
Look
down.
at you being
then
a traditionalist.
I'm a traditionalist
over
here.
Wow,
Yes.
Just Dr. Cookbook over here.
Andrew Bogut.
But I don't know how if it's bolognese if you don't have like milk in it and then have that like simmer out. Like it just takes a long time to have wine and milk evaporate from a dish.
Yeah,
Like you can't do that fast. So it's like you're kind of just talking about like beef and tomatoes.
No, you can do that faster. I mean, people do it for all day, and it keeps on changing like every 20 minutes. I don't like it after like an hour.
Where are we at on carbonara before I go?
Too rich for me.
Yeah.
Delicious, but very rich.
Good, not one of my like favorites. What do you think about the mythology of that? That it was American soldiers who wanted like eggs and bacon, and they turned it into a pasta dish.
Is that what they're saying? So it's not an Italian thing?
It's Italian, but it was based on like troops there during World War II or
was
World
this-
War One or wherever it was.
Was it an early bastardization of
Like
their
corned beef
MREs?
Oh, here we go.
Let's get that out on the tray. Nice.
Nice.
You know what's another good one though? Tacos like al pastor. Or no, wait, which is the one? One of them is actually Middle Eastern. It's like it's like the shawarma. I think it's al pastor.
I love that whole vibe. And also, corned beef on St. Patrick's Day was invented in New York.
That's what you listen to cookies for, to learn things.
We had more good takes about food than we had about hoops today.
Yeah, did we cover everything?
Do we want to talk about the Knicks?
You got
No.
any Mitchell Robinson stuff? I mean, we did dedicate a full hour and a half, 90 minutes to Mitchell Robinson praise.
Wait, you mean the second best player they've ever drafted? Mitchell Robinson, man.
Mitchell Robinson. All right, so this is going to be a little bit shorter than normal, but we're going to be back
On Thursday.
So we're trying to step it up a little bit. And as Quo normally says, give us some likes and favorites and reviews on iTunes. What's the little spiel that you do so well?
Subscribe, rate,
I love cookies.
Anyway, we're going to try to be back, and that's why this one's a little shorter.
rate.
Rate and review.
But anyway, this is a perfect fun.
Again.
Shout out while we wear down under. Bogut's back.
Bogut's back, baby.
Cookies.
Bogan dust. Cookies.